If you clicked on this video, I'm guessing that you have cattle and you want to make sure that you're being as profitable as possible, or you want to have cattle one day and you're trying to learn. Before we can understand what the best way to make money in cattle is, we need to understand what type of operation we have, because there's a lot of them. Number one was going to be a standard cow-calf operation. And a cow-calf operation just means that the rancher is typically calving out those cows. They are raising that calf, and then a lot of times, a lot of those ranchers will take the calves to the sale barn and sell them out, or they'll sell them directly to a neighbor who wants to feed them, or they'll feed them out themselves. And that's where we get into feeders. Now, there is family feeders, and then there's the big commercial feedlots. Either way, this is broken down in a couple different segments as well. And it's typically the backgrounders and the finishers. Backgrounders are taking those young calves and they are getting them up to a certain weight. Maybe that be 600-800 pounds. Finishers who buy those, and they will feed them out all the way until their finished weight, which is between 12 to maybe 1,700 pounds. Back in the day, they would have said that 1,200 pounds is plenty, but cattle seem to keep getting bigger and bigger every single year. So there's a wider range. Of the majority of those, a cow-calf operation, a background feeder, a finisher, a lot of those cattle in the industry end up going to a packer after being finished. The packer buys them and then sells the beef. But there is another subcategory that's becoming more popular, and that is direct to consumer. It's basically could be a combination of any of those types of operations where people sell their beef direct consumer. So they might be a rancher, they have their calves, and then they choose to take a portion of those calves, and instead of selling them at the sale barn or selling them somewhere else, they take and they finish them out themselves all the way to the end. They go and they get the beef processed, and then they sell the beef direct to a consumer. And I think that a lot of people have had success making a little bit more per head this way. Maybe the spread between what they were doing before and that direct consumer isn't as high right now, with cattle market being very high. Just taking your calves to the sale barn seems to be doing pretty well right now, but we know the market is not going to stay here forever. So I think we should focus on the profit system. That being said, with direct consumer, there's a lot more logistics to it. You have to, honestly, you have to deal with the people. You have to make sure the consumer is happy all the way through the end. There's just a lot more hassle involved, but with that hassle comes a bigger reward. Like I said, you can do direct consumer from either a cow-calf operation, or you could just buy some 600-800s and then finish them out from there. Just make sure you're not lying about how long you've owned the cows before you sell them to your consumer. Then after those big ones, I want to get into all the little subcategories. There's more than what I can put on here, but some of them just being, raising bulls, registered bred heifers, show cattle. It could be a niche cattle breed like, Highlanders. Some people even getting into the mini cow breeds. And all of those have their own market and they have their own place. But they all involve different logistics. You're going to have a limited amount of buyers, but you're also going to have less suppliers. So you will maybe be able to make more, but it's going to be much harder to find those buyers. It's not like you selling a commodity of beef and then just going to any random person, because the majority of people do eat beef. You're going to have to actively search and find those buyers. So we've gone through like all of these categories, right? And you may be wondering, okay, well, what's the best way? Well, I don't think that picking a category necessarily means it's the best way. I think you can make money in all of these ways, but you need to choose which one specifically for your area that's going to give you an advantage. In my area, there's a lot of feed. There's getting less and less pasture. It's kind of becoming harder to have just a vast ranch where you have, thousands of head of cattle. It would be almost impossible to get enough pasture to, run that many cattle. Whereas if you go out west and you go to the mountains, they might have more open acres. The grass may not last as long per acre, but there's a lot more open acres where you can actually run more cattle. If you go to the East Coast, you're probably going to be able to stretch out that pasture a little bit more. From what I hear, you can put more cattle per acre. And I know it varies across the country, every spot. It varies if you have irrigated land or not. It varies if you can get irrigation, if it rains. All those things are variables. Just look at your area, find out what works best, and test it out. Test it out small. Do not think that you have to go take out a huge loan and then just go buy a ton of cattle at once. But of all of these, the number one way to ensure you are making money in cattle is to understand your true break-even. Understand all the inputs. You need to understand the operation inside and out. All of your fencing that you put together, land payments, feed, electricity for the water, everything. You need to calculate all of that down. Find out your true break-even. And make sure the ranch can sustain itself. Make sure you're not relying on additional income. And this is where starting small really works out. You know, this channel, direct consumer beef with these 3 head. You know, this is segmented off. This is sort of on the side, on the own, and I'm working full time yet. So this channel, you can watch exactly how we're doing this. We're starting very small, 3 head. This little bit of property here, we're leasing it. We're going to show those numbers, and we're going to prove that you can build this profitable system and then scale it up from there. And so the big thing that you need to understand, no matter what operation you are choosing, is understand that true break even. Because once you do, you know exactly how much you have to make. And once you know how much you need to make, you know if you're making money or not. And then after you know how much money you can make, you know how much inputs you need to scale it up. Because if it costs you $1,000 per head to get started, not real numbers, and you know you can make $100 per head, then you know that you need $5,000 to start with 5 cattle and hopefully make $500. And then if you want to make more money than that per year, then you know exactly how many inputs you need per head. So you just have to scale it up from there to make more money. But we all know it's so much more complicated than that in the long run. So if you're interested in the AgriSummit community, want to be a part of that private community of family operations who believe in passing on their operation to the next generation and not getting bought out by corporations, check out the link below. I appreciate y'all. I'll see you in the next one. God bless.